So today we'll talk a bit about identity in the form of sports. This is very interesting. I actually have quite a bit to say about this. I hardly know where to start. What I can say is, however, with all that's been going on with the Washington football team, now the Commanders, were the Redskins, they have kind of ruined being a fan. And I was never a fan, but even I'm disappointed. So I know there's something up in the air. And I hear from a lot of fans because I'm from the area and I see their disapproval. But what I was thinking was a lot of people built their identity around being a Redskins fan. Like that's their thing. You know, everybody's got their thing. Like, oh, anime, Naruto, that's my thing. You know, uh, or just any other sports team. You know, Ravens, Cardinals, Cubs, whatever it is. Not too many people had to. I mean, I can definitely think of a few teams that changed their names, but to be built around a team like the Redskins, and they always had this rivalry with the Cowboys, but to have a team like you know the Redskins and then just have it stripped like overnight, and then it's just the football team, and they had 2 years to come up with a name, and they fumbled it. No pun intended. Based on what a lot of the fans are saying, they fumbled it, and one of the ladies who was responsible for the name change, has said a while back, sometime last year, that the locals are going to be very proud of this name. No, they're not. So first of all, you took the group of people who were the natives, who were the oppressed, and then you just swapped them out for the oppressors. Not to mention that you didn't even give them a logo to to represent, but that's probably a good thing actually, because if you did have to put a logo, if you did put a logo to match with the Commanders, then you would have definitely got the disapproval of the locals, which is just actually a sign of change because Washington D.C. Even though the Redskins don't even play in Washington D.C., they play in Landover, Maryland. Washington D.C. has been extremely gentrified, and so the natives are gone, just like in real life. So I guess that's actually very fitting now that I think about it, and it should surprise nobody. But this is just a lesson. This is what happens when you tie yourself, when you build your identity around something that you have no control over. Because if they would have allowed for the people to vote for the team, the people who support the team, the people who keep the team alive and running and make sure money, lines up the pockets of all involved. If they would have let the people vote, that wouldn't have been the thing. It wouldn't have been the Commanders, you know. It would have been the Red Wolves, the Red Tails, the Red Hogs, anything. Or it probably would have stayed the Redskins. All right. And I don't know why it took me so long to notice this. But just take a look at the Redskins logo. You know, it may be considered a caricature, but it is a representation of something that is true. And is that Native Americans, true Native Americans, they weren't the light-skinned Native Americans that you see portrayed. They look a lot like me. A little lighter, a little darker. All right? So when the colonizers came to America, they didn't see light-skinned uh, Native Americans. No, though that's not what they saw. They saw people who look like me, you know. And you ask damn near anybody in this country, what race is this person? What race am I? If I ask somebody, oh, you're African American. No problem with African Americans. But the problem is, what if I'm actually Native American? And they say, oh, we all come from Africa. Okay, fair enough. If that's the case, then everybody's African American. Everybody in America is African American. Other than that, no, I believe that the real Native Americans were exactly as the Redskins logo depicted. That was not by accident. They were dark. You know, you can even do yourself a Google search and just type in real Native Americans. A lot of them are going to be in black. A lot of them, a lot of them going to be in black and white. A lot of them are going to be recolored, or I guess is what you call it. Um, but you can even deduct from the black and white videos that, you know, the depiction is very clear. You can look at a black and white photo and you can tell the darkness of the skin. You can tell that they're dark. All right, and it's also interesting to look at these, like look at some of these old photos and like, this looks like my mother. You know what I'm saying? This looks like my grandfather. You know what I'm saying? This looks like the old man from around the corner. Which, if I think about it long enough, I may get a little disappointed when I think about how some resources were allocated to people who were perceived to be Native American. You know, they get, you know, getting casinos and land and all these things. And, you know, I think about, you know, people who look like me, and I just wonder. I'm not too bothered, but I do wonder now, with this epiphany that I had. I just wonder if that's what we were missing out on. You know, people who look like me. Were we missing out on our casinos and land and stuff like that? You know, not just from slavery, but because they were giving it to Native Americans. And I believe that a lot of us are the Native Americans. So it's just a thought. It's it's quite interesting, and would also really make me question why exactly they wanted to get the Redskins logo kind of just out of the forefront. And I think it's because a lot of people were starting to wake up to who the real Native Americans were. And the more that I think about it, one of the best ways you probably could represent Native Americans and represent black people was to keep that logo. And to see what they swapped it for, it doesn't surprise me at all. Even to me, like I said, I was never a Redskins fan. I was always kind of a Cowboys fan. Not really a fan anymore. But it's disappointing. And maybe it's just another step in erasing history, which is scary, because that's a form of book burning. It's not even just about sports, you know. It's about taking away something people identify with. And I mean, what's the answer to that? Man, I don't even know. I don't know at all. I can only speak for the individual. And for myself, I have to do some relearning, because I just came into this world and people told me who I was and I accepted it. So the takeaway would be, you know, never have a setup where people can take away your identity. All right? I guess that's a detachment practice, you know. And also, if you are not satisfied with what you see, you don't have to be a part of it. And it's really my hope that Redskin fans protest the hell out of this team and see what happens. See how quick they are to change the name. I don't know what the protocol is when it comes to that, if they can actually do it that fast. But I would love to see them just protest the hell out of this team and not just accept it because they tell you to. Because that's how you break the wheels. That's how you make things happen in your favor. Is like, you don't support it. Don't support something you don't approve of. Straight up. You know? You didn't get to have a say in what this team is going to be, what the team's name is going to be. You're not satisfied with it. Don't support it. If you're not going to support another team, just be sure to not support this team. I think it's disgusting, you know? And that's it. That's all I got to say about that.